Hello and welcome to Money Mondays with me, Ezekiel Olande, on Icon Radio. Today we are having an interesting conversation with my guest, Esther Kibugi, and I'm just going to ask her to introduce herself. Esther is a country director of Digital Opportunity Trust. Esther, karibu to the show.
Thank you very much, Ezekiel. I think you've introduced me. You've already said my name. You've said what I do. But yes, I am Esther Kibugi, the country director of Kenya.
Yep.
And at Kenya, our work really primarily is to empower young people.
Yep.
Through our different programs. We have Digital Skills Program, which is our main program.
Okay.
But we also support youth who are in entrepreneurship and other digital skills. So digital is really wide. So it's very difficult to put it in a box.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking the opportunity to just come and share with us on this topic. So we're talking about digital futures and empowering gig workers and entrepreneurs as well. But we'll get to that. First, tell us, when you're not country directing, what does Esther like doing that probably people don't know about you?
I like dancing.
Oh, nice.
So you will find me somewhere enjoying music, dancing, going for long walks.
Okay.
I think that's one of connecting with nature. So that could be going to Karura and taking a very long walk just to unwind. That's what you'll find me doing outside my work. Yeah.
What's your favorite music genre that you like to dance to?
I find that a very difficult question to answer.
Okay.
Because
Top three.
Is there a top three?
Okay, top five, top 10.
Let's see. Let's start with the easy one.
Yeah.
Of course, African music, any sort of African music. That could be Afrobeats, South African house, Kenyan music. I enjoy country music. If you're a millennial,
country road, take me home.
As long as you are on the road somewhere, you listen to country music. So there's still that.
Yeah.
I used to be a rockhead.
Okay.
Once upon a time, and now
Linkin Park.
Yes.
That's the one that quickly.
That's the one that just quickly comes to mind.
Yeah.
So yes, it depends on where I am that day. Then the music will guide me.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And favorite book, or what are you reading at the moment, or what do you read recently?
Again, it depends. If I want to wind down, then I look for something very easy to read. I have right now. I'm spending a bit more time journaling than reading, trying to get that going. We absorb so much. Sometimes it's good to just put pen to paper. No, paper to pen. Yes. Pen. And jot down what you're thinking, what you're feeling. And so that has been my journey for this year.
Okay.
Really getting down to journaling and trying to put my thoughts on paper. It's been an interesting. So I will admit I haven't done a lot of reading this year.
Okay.
I've spent more time journaling than reading.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very nice. Thank you for taking time just to join us today, and so that we can discuss the good work that you're doing at, you said it's .Kenya.
Yeah, just call it Dot.
I like it. I like it. Yeah, at .Kenya.
Yeah.
And probably just if you can jump straight into it. And the first area that I want us to address is youth empowerment in the digital economy.
Yeah.
And maybe how do you see youth empowerment influencing transformation in the digital economy, more so within the SME sector?
Okay, that's different pieces.
Yes.
So let's start with youth empowerment.
Yeah.
And youth empowerment, really, when we think about it, it's more than skilling. So one of the things that is important is to provide the right skills, market-driven skills, because we can be skilling them and they're not able to transition into jobs.
It's not market relevant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So providing market relevant skills to the young people. But in addition to that, soft skills.
Okay.
So are they able to communicate properly?
Yes.
Are they able to present themselves in front of a potential employer?
Yes.
In addition to that, for women especially,
Yeah.
we found that self-confidence was something that was really critical.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
we forget that social norms normally dictate for women in certain communities
Yes.
to hold themselves as being lower than others.
Be
you
seen
need
and
to
not be heard.
exactly.
Be in
Be
the
humble.
background.
Don't be too
Yeah.
loud.
Yeah.
Don't speak your mind. And yet, when you're getting into the work environment,
Yeah.
you are required to be, to put yourself out there.
To be assertive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have not only do you have to be assertive, you have to speak your, you have to say your piece. You
Yes.
have to be able to speak out if you feel there's an injustice. You have to be able to negotiate.
Yeah.
And negotiating means you may get into, I don't want to call it a battle, but you may have a bit of back and forth.
Yes.
With the other party.
Right.
And as a woman who is coming from a society that has told you, quiet down, don't argue with your superiors, how then do you negotiate? And especially like in the gig economy, when you have to be competitive, how do you negotiate when you don't have the self-confidence to do that? So the empowerment really is, we try to be very holistic.
Okay.
So yes, there is a skilling element, but there is also a lot of soft skilling, self-confidence that goes into the work that we do with young women. Yeah.
I like that. And just pushing a bit into the soft skill bit, because the technical is easy. Well, not easy, but you can gain this. But training on confidence, training on negotiations, training on presentation, and you're primarily dealing with a younger generation where the suit and tie is no longer the preferred mode of dressing. But how then do you, because the work environment is still quite traditional. Yes, when you look at the tech movement and things like that, then now we have bean bags and water coolers and all these things. But your typical brick and mortar organization is very, allow me to use this word, mtaratara. You must come in at 8 o'clock and clock out at 5, or no, clock out whatever time after 5. How do you then infuse this? So there's the Gen Z culture, and then there's still the work culture. How do you help them bridge this gap?
Well, the beauty of the gig economy is there's no physical office for most part.
Right.
I mean, we do have the BPOs, business process outsourcing, where they have a physical space. But the gig economy has made it flexible enough for someone to work from anywhere. They can work from their home. They can work from a cafeteria. And so dressing, really, what we try to guide them towards is look presentable. Don't show up in your cut-off jeans, in your crop top, and you're going for an interview, or you're going to meet a potential client.
Yes.
However, we know that most people understand within this space, tech space, there's a lot of flexibility. Where people are in jeans and they're in sneakers, and so you really can't put them in a box.
In that box,
we do give them the freedom to express themselves, but also share that you need to be, how you presenting yourself, and what does your dressing convey, how the way you speak. You're used to speaking Sheng, and it's understandable. It is the nature of where we live. But when you're presenting yourself to a potential client, you cannot then go and assume that you will communicate to them in Sheng.
Exactly.
If you cannot at that point communicate in proper English, can you ask them if you could communicate in Swahili? And that could give you a more comfortable option. So those are some of the elements that we try to bring into the trainings that we do with the young people.
Good stuff. The gig economy. What is the gig economy, and why are you training people to work within the gig economy?
So the gig economy is very broad. We have what we call the transport gig economy. So these are people who are on platforms and they are doing, the Ubers, the Bolts, all this, the transport. And then we have then the other team that is on platforms, actually contributing through work. So you have your web designers, you have your social media managers, you have your writers,
script writers and editors,
transcripting, transcribing. So you have all these different, and they're doing it on a platform.
Right.
Then you have another form of gig work, which is what we call in Kenya our mamafuas and our fundis. So you have that casual laborer who comes in, and they're paid on the gig. So they're paid per hour or for a certain job. Their jobs are normally very short-term in nature. They don't have job security, so they're not sure if tomorrow they'll wake up and they'll have a job. And they also most times do not have access to benefits. So benefits such as your health care, your health covers, your pension schemes. They don't have access to those, and even leave dates. So you'll find most of them work. If you don't show up to work, then you're not getting paid. And because a lot of young people want to get into these spaces, and in particular the platform work, and this what we're calling now this is what is popularly known by Gen Zs as the gig economy. You know, I'll just sit down and I'll write an article and I'll get paid $50 an hour, forgetting that it's very competitive across. You're competing with someone who's seated with better access to internet, maybe even better writing skills. Although I do know that Kenya has been, you know, is known for especially academic writing. And so I'd need to go a bit back. So when we started at DOT, our work primarily was focused around providing ICT skills. Then it was not called digital, it was ICT. You know, we're talking about ICDL.
Before the digital transformation or migration happened. And then we also, and so we were working with training young people to use basic Microsoft Office. The office suits.
Exactly.
And things
so
like that.
You know how to use Word, you know how to use basic Excel, you know how to set up an email. And they would use these skills to transition into the workspace. As we continued and evolved, and again responding to the market, we realized that we needed to improve our programs. And so we started training on social media marketing, on data analysis, and even basic, again, still not forgetting that basic literacy, that there are people outside of Nairobi or even within Nairobi who have never seen and interacted with a computer, or they may have seen it on TV, but they don't know how to get online. You know, you tell someone open Google and search this, and they don't know how to do it. And so we start really at that literacy level. Then we have the intermediate skills. Then we realize, okay, so we've trained them. Some of them are getting into the workspace. What happens when they get into the workspace? They're not able to negotiate. They don't know how to, they don't have the support system. They don't have the networks. Gig economy as it is very isolating. So yes, there's a flexibility of I can work from home, but if you're working from home with very few breaks, at what point are you networking? Me and you, Ezekiel, will be called to a cocktail. We will be called for a conference. Have you heard of a gig economy conference? Very rarely.
No.
There was one yesterday and the day before, I think, in Mombasa, by The Nation. However, the gig workers are not getting access to these spaces to network. And so we knew that was a challenge that they were facing, and they were feeling very isolated. They were not being able to share. So we brought them together through funding with GIZ to do a mentorship program. And what the mentorship program did is, one, create a network for them. So they were able to network within themselves. So,
so now you're bringing them together.
We're bringing them together. They're creating peer networks. But at the same time, we're bringing in people who are more experienced to guide them through this gig economy space. And so that looks like, what are some of the challenges I have experienced being in this industry for 5-10 years that I can guide you on and ensure that you don't get into the same pitfalls. And we really saw the impact of that. You know, there was a lot of solutions that were being created within those peer groups. And it led to, we started with 160, and then we scaled up to about 1,000.
Wow. We are with Esther Kibugi. Right, I think I mispronounced it earlier. Country Director, DOT Kenya, and we're just talking about digital futures and empowering the youth within the economy, within the gig economy. And Esther is just breaking down how they run these programs. And I like what you've done, where you're bringing these people together and creating a sort of a community or networking opportunities. Because you're right, remote workers, even beyond just the gig economy. And we were discussing this yesterday with a friend of mine, and they were saying the way now, more than ever, remote work is creating a lot of isolation, which is leading now to even mental health challenges that, you and I will not get, because, when you're in an environment where you're constantly interacting with people, some of these things can be helped. Having a water cooler discussion, for instance, who's your colleague? Your physical, because we need, we are created to be with people. So I really like that. You did mention something about a platform. Could you elaborate on that?
So the platforms are not our platforms.
Okay.
They are the platforms that have been created mostly in other countries.
Okay.
I don't think we have, well, we do have some platforms here, but mainly for this other definition of gig work,
right.
our mama fuas and all this, and the foodies. We have platforms for that. But most Kenyans are accessing gig work through foreign platforms. So you have, you mentioned remote, and so there was remote task. I think that was shut down the other day. You have your Fivers and all these other platforms where you need to register on the platform, showcase your work. Actually in Kenya I think we have Kuhustle.
Yes, is it Kuhustle or Hustle Sasa? No, Hustle Sasa is something else.
Yeah, so it's Kuhustle, where they give those sort of jobs. And so you register on these platforms. You are competing against millions of people.
Exactly.
And you're showcasing that your work is worth the amount that you're quoting. So in certain instances, you'll find people are trying to undercut themselves. By underquoting so that they can be competitive. But then look at the person on the other side. When they're looking into this platform, they will ask themselves, why are you quoting so low?
And it's interesting. Sometimes you think that when you underquote that you get the job. But if industry standards are X and you're offering Y, then there's a problem there.
Exactly. So for you feel I just need to get in. But then someone else feels you're quoting too low. Another challenge we've seen with these platforms is because you need to create a portfolio. Because that is what showcases your work. For us employed people, we carry our CV with us. You have your CV that lists all your achievements and everything that you've ever done. For a gig worker, their portfolio is their CV. And so if you're a new gig worker, the biggest challenge is normally, how do I create this portfolio? I have to get these jobs. And then that's one. Number two, most platforms, actually, I'm not sure there's any platform that allows you to carry your portfolio into the new platform.
Oh, so if I'm migrating to...
So if I'm leaving one platform
into another one,
or I've been successful in this platform, now I want to expand into a different platform, there is no way to carry your portfolio into this platform. So then you're almost
have to start from scratch.
And so for young people who are starting off, what we have seen is the more experienced gig workers and remote workers So you do the work. But you don't create a portfolio. So
because you're working under, so you're being subcontracted.
You're being subcontracted. And by being subcontracted, then the challenge becomes, if you perform the work, and I submit the work, and then I decide I'm not paying you, what's your recourse?
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing. And so that has been a challenge. And I'm glad that now we're starting to see platform workers start to unionize. This week there was the launch of the gig workers, Kenya Union of Gig Workers, that now has been recognized by KOTU and all these other. So that is now a formal union, and so they're able to fight for their rights. Of course, there have been the cases that we've been seeing online of gig workers saying my mental health is affected, I'm not being paid, but there are other people. So currently, it is reported that we have 36,000 platform workers across Kenya, but those are the self-reported ones. The ones that are reported through the platforms, or the ones who are willing to say that they're gig workers. Now there are those who, like the instance I mentioned, where Esther has reported to be a gig worker, but she has 15 other people who are working under her, and they're not reported. So we could be talking about an upwards of 100,000 gig workers in Kenya.
Wow.
But and really the scale is huge. When we look at countries like India that have really perfected outsourcing and creating this opportunity and the impact it has in their economy, there is a lot of potential. But we need to do it right. We have to set up the structures to enable young people to get into these spaces. Not only as, how do we support that Esther who has 15 other people to set it up as an outsourcing? And to be able to say, as I am an employer of X number of people, and these are some of the things, the benefits that I'm providing to them.
Because,
so that's a lot of the work that we're doing.
Interesting. And as you talk about now, especially that's the last bit for where now you are outsourcing, you're outsourced work to other people. Then I think it comes back to what you're saying, which is very important. Some of the skills that you're providing to these people, the soft skills, and I think also even legal then becomes very important. How do you contract? And you spoke about negotiating. I think it's very key that people learn how to negotiate and know their worth in order to then put it out there. And like you said, for women, it becomes an even more needed skill. So I'm very happy to hear about the work that you guys are doing. You provide mentorship, okay? And I just wanted to know, because in your experience, what are the critical gaps for gig workers, and how does the mentorship help them?
So the biggest gap we saw is networks. So most gig workers are, like we've said, they're isolated, so they don't have access to a network. And a lot of times what helps us, those water cooler conversations, those are peer conversations. There's a lot of peer learning that happens at that point, because you're comfortable enough to share the challenge you're going through, and someone will say, I faced that before, and this is what I did.
Exactly.
Or if it was me, maybe I would approach it in this other way. And so that there's so much value in creating a peer network. So even before we get to the mentorship, the fact that we've brought them together
and they're able to communicate and share the experiences and what they're going through.
Exchange that. That really helps with that. The second thing is normally around skills. So if you think about it, when you went to college and university, you got the technical skilling. But a lot of the work you end up doing, you learn on the job.
Absolutely.
There are certain skills that would not have been taught in a classroom.
In a classroom
exactly.
setting.
And so the same applies for gig workers. They will get access to the technical skills, but then until they sit down with someone who's been in the system, in the industry, then they miss out on certain nuances. And so someone will tell them, I'll sit down and say, it's taking me 2 hours to transcribe this document. And Ezekiel will share and say, but I have this app. And it makes work a lot easier.
Much easier for me.
Exactly. So there's learning that still takes place within that. So there's the element of learning, there's the element of the network, and then now there's a mentorship from the more experienced gig workers who come in and say, this is what we've experienced as gig workers. These are the best practices in the industry. When you go in, negotiate for your contract. If as women, especially working in the gig economy, there is a conflict between paid and unpaid work.
Right.
So I want to spend time making money, but then at the same time, I have these other home responsibilities that are waiting for me. And so then you'll find an experienced woman who tells you, this is how I navigated that space. You know, I created a schedule. I asked for help. I was able to do XYZ. And that makes a difference in the lives of the gig workers. So those are the things that we are seeing. And in terms of also the profound impact of mentorship, when we did the first round of mentorship, we had a gig worker who came in and said that the thing they learned and made a very big impact on their life is that they needed to go and get a contract.
Look at that.
So they did not have an existing contract. They were working through trust and word of mouth. And
in
you know,
this our Kenya.
In this and they came in and they got mentored, and the mentor was like, "Do you have a contract?" So what happens if these guys don't want to pay you?
They don't pay you. Yeah.
What happens then?
Exactly.
And they walked out and they said, "Oh, okay. First thing I'm going to do,
get a contract.
Get a contract.
Yeah.
I am going to ask for a contract." And that helps them also know their rights.
Yeah.
Because we assume, again, as when you are employed, you are covered by the labor laws.
Precisely.
And one of the push, I think, that is happening currently is for gig workers to be recognized. And so what are some of those provisions that can be created to support them? So those are the benefits of mentorship. You get a wealth of knowledge that you previously could not have tapped into without probably paying a really hefty fee.
You've actually answered the questions I was going to follow that, which is a lesson, and I really like that because it just shows how practical this thing gets. You know, you don't know what you don't know. But when you now sit and learn from your peers, like you've said, the peer-to-peer networking, I think, is very important. But also someone who's more experienced than yourself, then because they've navigated and they know the pitfalls and they can guide you. So still on mentorship, how then, so do you have within Kenya mentors, or do you recruit other mentors, or how does that work?
So we do not have mentors within Kenya.
Okay.
We recruit mentors.
Okay.
And one thing I love about the Kenyan spirit is how willing people are to help.
Very true.
Once you put out a call and say, you know, we're looking for mentors, this is a program, and this is how we want you to come in and help, we get such a wonderful response from people. And so we get a lot of experienced gig workers coming in and saying, I'm ready to help. I wish I had this when I was starting out. So let me give back and spend my time actually guiding this gig workers.
Nice. Very nice. All right. Switching a bit to, in fact, let me get us to traditional and digital business models. Okay, so how can businesses and young entrepreneurs best leverage, these platforms, like you're talking about, to expand the market reach?
Well, the gig space is its own. Its own space. And there are certain, it's its own ecosystem, exactly, if you will. But in terms of entrepreneurs leveraging technology, let me try and spin your question slightly and talk about leveraging technology. So I think one of the things that technology has done is expand the potential reach for businesses. And so if you think about it, 15 years ago, if you wanted to find Icon Radio, you would sit down with a really large book, a yellow book, and look for the letter I and go through, and scroll through until you found Icon Radio.
Just put a pin there. For viewers at home who don't get what Esther is talking about, we had something called the directory.
Yellow Pages. Which
was a big book. And then within that directory was something called the Yellow Pages, where all the businesses were listed. It was kind of like the Google of the businesses back in the day. And you, like she's saying, you had to then go and, because they're listed alphabetically, and go and look and find the PO box, the physical address, and the phone number. Please proceed.
And call the phone number. And hope
from a fixed line.
From a fixed line. And hope that
someone picks.
And is able to answer your question. And so that was the way to find businesses. Now, it's beyond Google.
Exactly.
you have social media platforms that are now almost overtaking Google. That you can get on a social media platform and look for a certain business and find them and be able to have a conversation with them. So really, technology has opened the market. It has expanded the potential of the market for businesses. And so it's really important. And I remember less than 10 years ago, actually, social media managers was not a role.
Exactly.
It was not a job. It was something that the marketing department would try and figure out how to do.
Just post.
Just post.
Post about us.
Exactly. And websites, websites are not being updated. We didn't have to update it.
It was static.
Exactly. Because the assumption was, I put my ad on radio. I have a billboard. So you'll find me. You'll go to your yellow pages and you'll find me. But now technology, if you're not online as a business, how do you expect people to find you?
Absolutely.
And now you don't have to have this really big physical space because the physical space that you need to occupy is online. And content is king for you, because if you're not posting, if you're not engaging with your audience, then they will not find you. So the element of entrepreneurship really is, how do we get as many young people to take advantage of this technology, this space? And in addition to taking advantage of the digital space, how then do you grow your business through embedding technology? So yes, we talk about the social medias and all these other things, but technology is there to make our life easier. I love the way people say, oh, these days everyone is just, every email that is being sent is AI generated, every post is AI generated. But when I think about a couple of years back, the challenge in universities was, every paper that's been submitted is from Wikipedia.
Absolutely.
So we're speaking the same thing. It's the same story.
The tool has just changed.
Exactly.
But, we're still doing the exact same things.
We just need to leverage these tools.
Technology.
If AI is going to help me respond to 100 emails in a day, why shouldn't I use it?
Go and do the typing by yourself and send. It doesn't make sense.
If it's going to generate for me a template that I can use, I mean, all I need to do is edit it. Yes, fine. Let it generate.
Still apply your mind.
Exactly. Let me, and I still have to apply my mind, because what I feed into the AI dictates what it gives me.
Garbage in,
garbage out.
Exactly.
So how do we use these technologies really to our advantage? And beyond that, I think, and there has been a lot of conversation starting around this, is in this instance where AI is just starting to to develop. Yes, it's out there, but we're still starting to understand AI. How do we ensure that our young people are not just consumers of the AI? Yes. How do we start thinking around what business opportunities are there for us to be not consumers, but also the developers? Let's also have enterprises that are homegrown. We are already consuming these social media platforms from all this. How can we get to the point where we have our own enterprises that are going to really solve the problems that they have, that are going to help us build, scale businesses that can employ a lot of young people? I think that, for me, that is what is very important. How we use this technology for our own advantage, and be able to be at the forefront rather than be the consumers. We have always been the consumers of other people's technology. It's time for us to really take the bull by the horns and start inventing and creating business opportunities.
I like what you've said. The government recently released AI policy that I don't know if it has already been implemented or it's still at a draft stage, but just going back to what you're saying, we cannot just be consumers. How do we leverage and develop these things? Back to using AI for work. For me, I look at it as any piece of technology. We used to do mental math. We got calculators. Then we got Excel and whatever came after Excel. So am I then going to say, no, I will still do my financial accounting on my calculator, or use the pre-programmed formulas and then move it fast? What you put in you know, and I think we just need to apply our mind in these technologies and leverage what they can do for us, because it frees your time as well. It's just automation, really. And so my mom used to work in the bank before the teller machines came. And I remember people were scared it's coming to replace us. Then they realized, no, it's actually freed a lot of space that we used to occupy in the banking hall. We can do other things.
Exactly.
So I think it's just the same thing. And we're telling you, kids at home, people who are watching, embrace the technology, embrace what is already current. But I like what Esther has said. Use your mind as well to see how do you just move from being a consumer to a producer, if I can use that word. So looking now ahead, look at the bigger picture. How do you see the efforts that you guys are playing in digital upskilling, mentorship, and shaping the future of work, particularly for the youth? How do you see your efforts influencing the future of work? Because I think by and large people are moving to the gig economy.
Well, not only gig economy, but technology is affecting all sectors.
Exactly.
If you walk into a hospital, there's a new technology. If you walk into school, there is a new technology there, and it's evolving very, very fast. And so our role really as DOT is to ensure that the young people, and we work primarily with young people between the ages of 18 and 35, as is legally defined as the youth age group. The youth, exactly, by the government. And for us, the important thing is maybe you went into a school that did not give you access to these technologies and the skills. So how do we ensure that you get an access to them at no cost?
Right.
And when I tell people no cost, it doesn't mean that the training is free.
Zero, Bob.
It's zero. Exactly. There is a cost. It's just that someone else is meeting that cost for you.
Exactly. And that's an important part to clarify.
Yes, because sometimes you say, well, but it's free. But it's not free. Someone has paid for it,
and you're spending your time as well.
Exactly.
To do it.
Yes. And so for us, the key thing is to ensure that young people, especially in marginalized communities, meaning they did not have access to the spaces, they did not have access to the technologies, they did not have access to even electricity in some areas, they still have an opportunity to be competitive. And their work may look different. I could expose someone to technology and they decide, oh, you know what, I thought I was going to be a doctor, but I've decided I want to
do something else.
Exactly. I want to get into this space. So that really is important for us. The second thing is ensuring, again, that we are market relevant. So responding to what the market needs. AI right now is there. Everyone is talking AI.
Precisely.
So ensuring that do the young people understand what AI is? Do they have the skills to navigate this AI and the blockchains and all this other things?
Yes.
So how do we ensure that they have those, at least at the very least, the literacy skills to be able to take advantage of these technologies? And even after they get into these spaces, how then do we support them post training? We still have programs that are going to support them when they get into this job market, so that we're not just letting them go and letting them continue look for other opportunities. But that's not to say that we're trying to solve everything.
Yes, of course not.
So that's not to say we're trying to solve everything. I think for us the most important thing is that at the basic level, at literacy level, we have reached as many young people as possible, and we've embedded that interest in them. So one of the things that our programs are based on is providing 21st century skills, which means
I like that.
We're putting in that love for learning and the desire to continue finding out, what is new, how do I then take this to the next
curious.
level? Being curious and, how do I take this to the next level? Who else can assist me on this? And those are skills that really will go beyond whatever sector that these young people will decide to get into. So even if you decide to get out of technology, you have the fundamental skills that are going to help you succeed in whatever industry that you're going into.
You're hearing from, I don't want to say the horse's mouth, but we are with Esther Kibugi, country director .Kenya. We're talking about empowering the next generation through gig work. Talk about digital futures and just how you as a young person can be able to leverage technology. Because as you've said, this is where we are going. We're actually here. Kenya is known as the digital, the Silicon Savannah, for a specific reason. And, we are the ones who are, the young people are the ones who are pushing this. So then they have to leverage on technology. And if you want to join in on the conversation, please feel free to hit us up. We are on Icon Radio, all platforms as well, and we'll be sharing the socials also for .Kenya towards the end, just so that you can be able to, if you need to reach out to them and figure out how do you get involved, if you're in the gig economy and you need mentorship, or you just need to find out how do I get myself here. They talk about the training, the skills that they're providing. You're in this space, you're by yourself, you can get a community that you can be able to then leverage off of and get the soft skills, the technical skills, the business skills as well. You had what Esther was talking about. I really like the example you gave for the person who realized that they didn't have a contract. I need a contract. Good people, in this country, you cannot, yes, you can work on good faith, and that's one of the tenets of business, utmost good faith. However, trust, but just put things down on paper. Esther, back to the future direction. What strategies or innovations do you believe could support digital empowerment? In the years ahead.
Well, from the government side, we have the last mile connectivity.
Right.
So if you're going to talk about technology and digital, it's very important that you have access to electricity.
Precisely.
Because all technology gadgets really...
It's electronic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that is one thing from the government side.
Yeah.
Also in terms of last mile connectivity to the internet.
So,
we have, the telcos that are doing the connectivity.
Yeah.
But also in the grassroots level, we have organizations that are doing that last mile internet connectivity.
Right.
So that's really key. In addition to that, there's a cost of the access.
Yeah.
So if we talk about scaling, one of the challenges that we find is that young people cannot afford to be on the internet for a very long time.
Yeah.
The cost of data really.
Data bundles.
I mean, every time, how many times will you'll send someone a WhatsApp and they'll tell you, oh, sorry, I didn't have data bundles.
Yes, bundles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the cost of access to the internet. And sometimes we take it for granted when you have access to Wi-Fi here.
Yes.
But outside, a few kilometers outside of Nairobi, there are people who don't have access to free Wi-Fi. The cost for them is really prohibitive for them to get online and get access. So we need so from one side we need to ensure that yes, there's access to electricity, there's that last mile connectivity, but also the cost is affordable. The other thing, of course, is the cost of access to these technologies.
Yes.
If I want to be a data analyst, or if I want to be a coder, the cost of a lot of the softwares are very, very...
They're prohibitive.
Exactly. So those are some of the things that would be great if we're able to find a way to bring the cost down. Then we have a lot more people accessing them. Initiatives that can have that last mile connectivity on in the communities, that even if I don't have access to a mobile phone or a laptop or a computer, then I can go into
a cyber
cyber cafe that will help me get access to these facilities. I know the government is trying to set up some facilities for access, so those are going to really help in the rural communities. And those spaces then can be used as potential working spaces.
Yeah.
So if it's there, if it's been provided,
yeah.
then I can go in and do my work during daytime
Yeah.
hours. So those are really important. The skills. The more we embed the skills right from academic level, so that young people are getting access to these skills in school, that will make a really big difference. Because while we do provide a lot of these skills, there is a certain level where the cost then becomes prohibitive for us to provide for free. Especially when we're talking about advanced skills. So that's why our focus really is on literacy and intermediate. When you're getting into advanced, then the cost is quite high.
It's high.
Exactly. It's quite high. So those are some of the things that we would like to see more of. There has been collaboration in certain areas where you'll find, organizations will say, we want to work with you. Start off the literacy, then we'll take them up. And we had a number of, I don't have the number in my head right now, but I do remember we collaborated with an organization known as Data Camp. And so we started off the youth on how to do data analysis on Excel. And then Data Camp took them to the next level. So they sponsored students and trained them on now advanced data analysis. So those sort of collaborations will see a lot more people getting access to the skills they need.
You've you preempted and answered my next question. I have interacted with Data Camp. That's a very good collaboration. But I was going to ask you, over and above, just Kenya, who are your partners that you work with to achieve the ultimate goal beyond Data Camp? And also, you mentioned the networks in Mashinani. How do you then work with these organizations to achieve your end goals?
So the backbone, and I want to call it the backbone because they really do support us, are community-based organizations. And they look different in different areas. So for example, in Roiro, we are working with Jutume Center. So there's a physical location, the computers are there, and and our students will go there to get access to training. In some areas, they are local community-based organizations that host young people, and they may not have digital programs. They have other programs, but then DOT collaborates with these community-based organizations, and we draw more young people into the spaces. So we'll conduct our training, but at the same time, then it's a win-win situation for both of us, because after they participate in the DOT trainings, they then have an opportunity to access whatever other programs are running within that community-based organization. So that gives us, so we actually do not establish DOT offices in every single county, yet we have presence in 33 counties.
Good stuff.
So we work through community-based organizations.
I like that approach. We are actually getting to the top of the hour. Esther, can we have you for another hour?
Next time.
But as we wind down, probably just and I want you to think about your parting shot. What I want you to think about the practical advice for aspiring entrepreneurs or people within the gig economy, and what key insights or practical advice would you offer to these young people in this space?
So my parting shot is invest in upskilling and reskilling. Technology is changing very fast. What was relevant a year ago is not relevant right now. So it's really important to upskill, to reskill, and to network and get to understand what are the latest technologies and what are the skills that you need to build your online presence. For digital economy and gig work, your portfolio is your resume. And so you need to build an online presence where you can showcase what are your skills, what is the work that you have done, and that will give you access to other job opportunities. And lastly, network. Your network really is your network.
It's your network.
By networking, then you get access to platforms and even jobs that you probably could not have gotten access to or you not have known about. So really build that network and if you can, a mentor is really important. Get access to that mentor, someone who's going to hold your hand and guide you through and help you understand what are the dynamics of technologies, this technology space, and in particular the gig economy.
Yeah. So I know you've already kind of given your partnership, but I want you to look at your camera and speak to the person who is in this space and is struggling, and we've covered quite a number of things that affect people within the gig economy. But that one who does not have a community is probably struggling with their mental health, does not know how to upskill themselves, more so on the softer skills, because I think you can learn these things. Some of them you can learn online, but on the softer business skills, what practical advice can you give them, and how can they connect with .Kenya?
Okay. So for anyone who's out there and feels they don't have a community, Kenya offers a great community. We'll give you access to the training, we'll give you access to mentorship programs, and so you can start to build your community there. We are on all social media platforms as DOT Kenya, so .Kenya, one word, across all platforms. And we are always happy to have young people, 18 to 35 again, come in and join us and participate in our programs. I would say for anyone out there who is struggling and doesn't know where to look, really, the first step is Google. Google is your friend. It's going to help you. I mean, get on our platform, get on the platform, get on Google. It will give you some of those free resources, and create a network. And your network really is going to create that network for you. That would be my potential.
Wonderful. We have come to the end of our show today. We have been hosting Esther Kibugi, Country Director, .Kenya or Digital Opportunity Trust. We're just discussing digital futures, how they are empowering the youth within the gig economy. And you have heard it for yourself. There are very many opportunities for you as a gig worker to upskill, to interact with different people, to have community as well. I like what you shared earlier. There's even now, what do you call it? It's not association, but the trade, a union for you, where you can then be able to have even collective bargaining, as a group. So, as she said, Google is indeed your friend, but in the event that you need, more resources, you can reach out to them. As she said, on all platforms, it's .Kenya, one word, and please not dot, DOT.
Yes,
DOT Kenya. You can also hit us up on, as well, Icon Radio. On all platforms, we are on Icon Radio. And just share a comment with us. Tell us what you're thinking. We'll be able to help you. But from myself, Ezekiel Olande, and my wonderful guest, Esther, thank you so much for tuning in. See you again next week on Monday.
Thank you, Esther.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Good night and goodbye.